I think we're live.
This is exciting.
Yeah, wow. Hello. Hey, YouTube.
Hi, everybody.
Hey. Hello to everybody who's shown up. Welcome to Post Office East or West. I don't even know where this is anymore.
I love what you've done with the place.
Well, hey, thank you. I mean, you like the piping? I did some of that as well.
Yeah, we had it all.
Yeah.
The pipes are redone.
Pipes are
Look
redone.
at this. This might be the best set we've ever had.
I actually want to just make sure that I know there are some people actually in the chat room right now, so I want to say hi to some of those people, making sure that everything's working. Hey, hello Tanklore, hello Jeremy Samples, hello Rob, Alexander. Can you guys all hear us? Peter Smiloff, Peter from Long Island.
Do let us know.
Yeah, let us know if all this works. Oh, we're reversed. I'm gonna actually flip the image here. One second. Strange. Okay, one more time.
This is where everyone gets to see the nuts and bolts of the operation, like our images being flipped.
I'm testing out a whole lot of new gear. The problem is with the delay. The moment I hit it back, I feel like I'm flipped, but I'm actually not.
Oh,
so why don't you entertain our audience there, John? Can you see them?
Yeah. Randy Orton's not going to approve of all these flips.
Alrighty. Sounds good. Also mirror mode. Okay, everybody. Hello, Omar. Hello, Jeffrey. Wary. Hayabusa.
If any of you were here for our Hell in a Cell post show and are watching this, this is the same room.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't think most people would imagine that this is the same setup.
Yeah, no, I was I made no less than, I would say, 3 IKEA trips over the past 48 hours.
You live there.
I pretty much live in IKEA between furnishing my new place and also picking up some of this stuff. I've been running back and forth. I'm very familiar with all the aisles now in IKEA. But anyway, a lot of you guys are in here. Holy shit, we have 33 people in here.
Damn,
that's amazing.
It's gonna be like the Nassau Coliseum tonight.
I mean, usually we like to wait for people to file in, but I feel like today
everyone has evolved.
Yeah,
and now they want to chat about it. Is it funny that on the night of Evolution that Evolve was running like a big card with NXT guys on their show?
Kind of. Yeah.
I mean, which one's evolving quicker?
That's a great question.
We're probably going to spend more time on Monday talking about this Evolve show, but they put a bunch more WWE or NXT talent on. They're also now allowed to stream those matches. They put the tag titles on the Street Profits.
Wow.
So that's kind of interesting. The fact that the Evolve NXT relationship is now, I mean, it was always there. It's just a lot deeper now, to the point that Evolve can now stream NXT talent, and it seems like NXT talent is going to be regularly appearing on Evolve shows.
No women, I'm assuming, on this Evolve show.
I wonder who. I don't know. I don't know all the results of the show. I wasn't following super close. I just know that I think Dan Matha was on the show. You had the Street Profits. This was the weekend Mustafa Ali was working with them. So
can I say you just sound great, by the way, with this?
Do I?
Brand new microphone.
Am I allowed to touch
yes,
this?
You are.
Is that picking
up?
I
still hear it.
Okay, I won't do it. I won't do it.
I don't hear it that bad.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful.
These are beautiful mics. I love this.
We're up to 41 people now. So I said, John,
I say let's just chill out and let's just wait till we get to 100. You know what we're going up against?
What's that?
We're going against the Hardys Halloween special on the WWE Network. And all of you folks that are in here, all 41 of you are like, please, I want Pollock and Ting over the Hardys. I can watch them anytime.
We will discuss the Hardys thing. So I encourage everybody to maybe even have it on in the background. You can watch the zaniness, but listen to us.
I'm already being asked if we're going to review that. We are going to chat about it on the double shot this week, the Hardys Halloween special. Someone asked me, can you watch Evolve 114? I was like, I do not have time to watch another wrestling pay-per-view before Tuesday night.
So, yeah, you can only watch one pay-per-view.
We got a mixing board.
We've got a mixer here. We got a beautiful Alan Heath Z10.
My favorite.
Some sure.
Have to show me all this afterwards. How I can
It's not that complicated, honestly, and it
pretty
was a lot of
basic.
fun to put together. So let's test it out. And by the way, if it all cacks out and if it all goes down, you guys will have the privilege to see us.
All right, are we getting started then?
Let's do it.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the WWE Evolution Post Show. I am John Pollock alongside Wei Ting from the brand new refurbished Post Office West.
Refurnished,
Refurbished,
yeah.
redone, recycled, reused.
Yeah.
Welcome. If you are not a double, ice cap, or espresso member that can see this room, Wei Ting interior design is just the latest talent he has added. This is really impressive.
I mean, I don't know if interior design, I don't know if I did much beyond install a table and a few mics, but I mean, I think what's more impressive and the reason you should join the double or above tier is to see John Pollock's very impressive collection of wrestling books.
Not just wrestling books. I see a few non-wrestling books that made it up there. My book on the gatekeepers about past vice presidents of the United States. And
well, you're very well read, I guess, not just in wrestling. Sarah Palin, I see you have that book too.
I got that for Christmas one year. I never read it though.
Yeah. But I mean, I have to say your wrestling book collection is quite hefty. And you know what? It looks really nice on the shelf like this.
Yes. Actually, that's Braden's poster that he still hasn't picked up. So that all-in one is we took that from him on the way home, and I still haven't given it to him. So I guess we own it now. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah. John, you and I watched this at your house.
Awesome.
But I didn't see your face at all once.
Wei came over to watch this, and we watched this separately, which I think it worked.
I kind of prefer it. I mean, I love being in your company. I'm sure you like being in my company too. But for show nights, I like.
What was the last pay-per-view we watched together? Was it Hell in a Cell?
I think it was Hell in a Cell.
I didn't enjoy that because we sat there and we sat in silence because I didn't want to talk with you about the show.
Exactly.
Because if I had a funny line or something, I save all this. I bank all this
I don't
stuff.
even like to. I think I should start muting you on Twitter during show nights because I don't want to know any of your opinions. I don't want to know any of your.
I don't blame you.
Before we actually start doing the show, and I enjoyed it. I sat down here in the post office. John was upstairs in his kitchen dining room table. We had pizza and we both ate separately on our own. It was really sad.
But when he came up, he's like, "What do you think about the show?" I'm like, "You're ruining all of our efforts here."
Try the small talk. What was I doing?
So safe to say, and first of all, thanks to everyone for tuning in. These live shows, we've been doing a few of them now, and so far so good.
40 something of you in here right now.
That's awesome.
Right after what is it? Evolution. Yes.
Evolution.
That's talk about Crown Jewels next week.
Yeah, right. Not going to be mixing up those shows at the end of the year. I think I will know which one was which. But in terms of Evolution, I think safe to say one of the best WWE shows of the year. For some people, probably going to be one of the best shows of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly have been staying largely away from the Twitter reaction to it, but that was my reaction coming out of it. And I'm thinking about this in comparison, obviously, to a lot of like main roster shows. This was a better experience for me, top to bottom, absolutely, than a lot of those shows.
Before we start, because I think for these shows, I knew going in, everyone wanted to see this show do well. And I feel that the audience, that's why I wasn't worried about the audience. Long Island, historically, is a terrible city. Like, that is not just people making that up. I mean, that is the rep of Long Island. But I felt tonight, I didn't feel that was going to be an issue because this show was going to have its own feel. I think in the last few days, they really maybe over-pushed the historical significance of this. And you could see how much it meant to the performers, which I took as very legitimate. And I think that the audience wanted to make this a great show. And the audience was awesome tonight.
Completely. It certainly had, I would say, the same feel as, a great takeover show. I would even say like an all-in, a show of just an audience that felt like they were there to, I mean, it's hard for me to say that they were there just to support because like, I think they were really enjoying themselves. And even if the show was bad, I don't think you would have heard a reaction like you heard. This was a good reaction. This was a crowd that was there to be very vocal about the great show that they were watching.
So, yeah, I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts. I have no idea. I know you like the show, but we will break all of that down. So let's just go into it. First of all, the aesthetics of this show. The WWE, this was not originally on their calendar as a pay-per-view. It was, I believe it was last weekend in Boston was going to be the mid-October pay-per-view. They made the call. Evolution was going to be the pay-per-view. So TV is in Charlotte tomorrow night. Usually you have the pay-per-view and Raw kind of piggyback off each other in similar locations. You didn't. And I don't know the answer to this, but I'm curious if a lot of their, because this was not produced and didn't look like a typical WWE pay-per-view. It was a full arena. They had over 10,000 people, but it was all dark. You didn't have the television barricades. You had traditional guardrails that were set up. So I don't know how much that had to do with TV being in Charlotte tomorrow. But what did you think of the look? I didn't like the lighting.
I mean, I can't buy the excuse of, I guess this being in a Nassau and then TV being in Charlotte. I guess that could partially play into it, but
and I don't know if that's the reason. That's the only guess I have, because this looked much closer to
like a
big house show.
Yep, yes, absolutely. I definitely noticed the darker crowd, and I don't know if that was due to like from what I hear, like it was. Did it sell out?
It was
sold out.
You know, it was for people tracking it, like Brandon Howard, who had stated there were like 200 to 300 tickets left, so it was full.
Okay,
but you wouldn't have known that.
Certainly sounded full.
It sounded full, but I wanted to see that crowd. I want to see 10,000 people. They don't really get 10,000 people for Raws.
Yeah.
So
it was
I think that was a negative.
It was a darker crowd. I guess that they didn't really have lighting for the crowd, which really kind of was a shame because they sounded so hot. And I would say like it looked more like, you know, like you would see a 205 live show, you know, when they would darken the crowd when the audience would leave. The ramp certainly wasn't really anything special. It felt like, you know, just a big house show, or I guess not even as big as a takeover.
Yeah, I didn't care about the barricades or the ramp or any of that either. But the lighting, to me, I did want to see that crowd because they did sound great. But if I have to pick one or the other, seeing the crowd or hearing the crowd, I'd rather hear it.
Yes,
they lasted. This was not a crowd that tired midway through and didn't have any energy for the end. They were there from start to finish. This show also, yes, we had a kickoff. The kickoff was what it was.
They did a red carpet type of thing.
Yeah, they interviewed a lot of the women. No matches on the kickoff portion. However, they did tape a dark match with Rhea Ripley and Dakota Kai. And there's gonna be so many people that were probably so upset. The WWE was sending out all these photos of Rhea Ripley with her championship.
Oh well, come on. I don't think anyone is going to be that upset.
But anyway, so that was taped as a dark match for the crowd. And did you get to see much of the kickoff? I mean, there wasn't a whole lot.
I was listening to it. I was just setting all this stuff up.
Actually. You had Renee Young with Paige and Beth Phoenix, and then throughout the night they had Charlie Caruso on the red carpet interviewing Sasha, Alexa. I did find it convenient that the first red carpet interview, they worked in the Abu Dhabi match that Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss had. They were the two being interviewed, and it was brought up. And I don't think that was a coincidence.
I mean, I feel like that's always been part of their story. It's like one of their greatest achievements of this women's evolution.
Yeah, it has. But it was also like the comment from Sasha that's like, that is what we do at WWE. This is what we're doing for women worldwide. It definitely felt like the most subtle commentary.
I mean, kind of going back to like what came out this week with Ronda's comments to TMZ.
Yes.
Using that similar type of thinking. Do you think it's a company directive that they're telling them to bring that particular event up, that, you know, that we're going to places like this in order to facilitate change?
I mean, I don't know how much, like, you can definitely see like certain talking points that are being brought up. I listened to that Ronda interview and it felt like someone that was trying to be genuine, but just what they were painting this picture as was not accurate of what it was. That, you know, she talks about the fact her sister is a journalist, and you got the sense like this was a human being trying to defend this, and that what her comparisons were of like, we're trying to open up this part of the world and the company that we are going to be the agents of change. And it's like, that's not what is happening here. That is not even what the company is stating they are doing. You know, you have Stephanie McMahon saying this is a business deal. You have the company saying that we are contractually obligated and this could affect our fourth quarter if we don't go. Like the company is not even arguing like we are these change agents. And I think it's disingenuous to paint it as something more noble than it is.
Though somebody like Ronda saying it, I believe that she believes that that's what's happening.
I do too. I don't think she was trying to be misleading or just to deflect. I think Ronda is somebody that is not necessarily going to sugarcoat things, but I also felt the message she was sending was inaccurate to what is happening on Friday. Like, this is not a charitable effort that the company is doing to try and bring change to Saudi Arabia. They are trying to bring change to their fourth quarter earnings expectations. That's for Friday.
Yes.
We'll get into lots of it. Other stuff, they just had some people on the panel, including Michael Cole. Carmella did a bit with R-Truth that kind of fell flat when you're trying to do the R-Truth comedy without being in the ring. I think that really adds to it. And Eve Torres, who was also there. Lots of people that were here at this event that were showing and some not showing in front of the crowd. And I don't know if you caught this, but they also did one of those press junkets with Brie Bella going to interview two of the stars from the new movie Nobody's Fool.
I did not catch this.
Okay.
Tell me about it, please.
Forgive me, I don't know the names of the actor and actress that she was interviewing, but she starts interviewing them and asks them their pick between Nikki Bella and Ronda tonight. And they say, "Oh, Ronda's going to knock her out." And Brie gets up and storms off and says, "Well, it looks like you two are everybody's fool."
Because that's
the movie's called Nobody's Fool.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it was really great at the time.
Quite the promotion for this movie. And then we go into the actual event, and it started with a rare production flub as you hear Michael Cole in the distance trying to do his introduction, and then you hear, I guess his director comes on explaining to him, "Your microphone isn't working."
It might be an indication that they're working with a very different crew than your typical pay-per-view.
It very well could be. Like, this was not initially, like, their production team was not going to be here. However, this pay-per-view was not planned last week either. Yeah, so I don't know what was going on. It was like the only flub of the show, to be fair.
Yes.
And then they had Nita Strauss in the ring for a live performance to kick off the show. Something different.
With Lizzie Hale. Yes. Somebody who has also performed at a recent takeover.
And then the first match, which, mind you, they were simulcasting on Twitter. And I wonder if that caused them to opt to go with this match to start, as opposed to, I thought they'd start with the 6-woman tag. I thought that would be a good opener, but they went with Trish Stratus and Lita against Mickie James and Alicia Fox.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad choice. You know, I do wonder, like, in terms of how many people paying or subscribing to the network, what the draws are for them. I can see certainly Becky and Charlotte being a big hook, and I can see Nikki and Ronda being a big hook. Lita and Trish, I think to an extent, are hooks, but I feel like they're also good enough freebies that you can give away to entice people to stay on.
This is why we go to Pollock's polls.
Oh,
from my Twitter today. What is the biggest drawing element for tonight's WWE Evolution event? We got 1,117 votes, Way. 9% names from the past. 15% Rousey versus Nikki. 32% Becky Charlotte. 44% the concept of the show.
Okay. So people just want to watch it regardless.
I think overall that was it. The first WWE All Women's pay-per-view was probably the big hook for people, but I thought that Rousey and Nikki would have been second.
Yes.
That would be my assumption. Lillian Garcia was brought back and she introduced everyone in the match, and the crowd, you could tell, immediately hot, and they went nuts for Trish's entrance. And I can't say this was a mistake going with this in the opener. Hot crowd, and you established that right out of the gate. I was curious if there would be any disappointed fans that maybe did not know about Alexa Bliss being out of this match. It was only announced on Friday and online, so it didn't seem to be any deterrent to this audience enjoying this match because Alexa was physically there.
Yeah. I think that was one of the interesting questions going into the show to see what type of crowd exactly is the ones that are going to pay for a ticket to see Evolution. Would they be the ones that watch the WWE Network typically? Would they be familiar with the Mae Young Classic? Would they be familiar with NXT? Or are they strictly here because they watch Raw and SmackDown? And I think we got a good gauge that this seemed like a relatively more dedicated hardcore fan base who is kind of more aware of all that stuff than most.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was everyone. I think that you certainly saw
the Mae Young Classic I thought was the most telling.
Yes. So Anyway, the match begins. Alexa comes out and she makes fun of Lita and Trish's age, telling them to turn up their hearing aids as she welcomes Mickey and Alicia Fox. And the three of them were dressed as characters from Alice in Wonderland. And this began our night of thematic outfits for some of the women.
I didn't completely notice. So this was the first? Okay.
These three, yes, were dressed up.
Okay.
Match begins, and Trish tells Alicia to tag in Mickey. And when these two came in, this audience was so excited to see Trish and Mickey James. They just are doing the most basic forearm strikes, and the audience is unhinged. Stratus hit a top rope Hurricane Rana for a 2 count. The heels go to leave, but then get stopped on the floor. Lita attempted a moonsault, but got yanked off by Alexa Bliss from behind the referee's back. They got the advantage on Lita for a period, and then Stratus is tagged in. She countered a DDT, hit Stratusfaction onto Mickey, and is going for the cover. 1, 2, 2 3/4. Finally, Alicia Fox made the save. She was definitely off cue. I would say the only negative of this match was this save that got screwed up. Lita then followed with a twist of fate to take out Alicia, and then she climbed to the top. My heart was in my throat. Hit a moonsault onto Fox and James.
That was my big question this whole match. How would Lita's moonsault look? Because last we saw her do it at the Rumble, it was not a pretty sight.
Yes, and this time she had 2 targets. So
it looked good.
It was fine. Good. She didn't kill herself. Yeah. So positive for Lita. And then Stratus just dropped Mickey with the chick kick and won 11 minutes, 3 seconds. Really hot opener. Outside of that one save miss, I thought this was a good place to put the opener. This was not as anticipated a match as I think it was when they announced Trish versus Alexa. So I had no problem with them putting it on early. Big star in the opening match, and kind of started the show off with something big.
I suppose when you think about the alternatives, I certainly wouldn't have put either the NXT or the Mae Young Classic match on first. I mean, you could do the Battle Royal, you could do the 6-woman tag, but this was, I think, a good of a choice as any. I was really happy for Trish and Lita to get that reaction that they got from this really hot crowd. I think technically all we're really looking for is to see that they could carry on some semblance of what they used to look like. And I thought both did. Both looked like they always did. It's hard to kind of compare that level to what we see today in some of the better matches that we saw in this card. But I thought, kind of lived up to their reputations, and they looked like their old selves. The big screw up was, from Alicia, unfortunately, so it goes, I'm just saying, Lita and Trish look good enough here. Absolutely.
Given the fact that you had the Alexa involvement left unfulfilled here, you didn't pay that off.
Yeah.
Could you imagine them continuing and I think people do want to see the Trish Alexa match.
I think so too. I absolutely do think so too. She's clearly in shape. I think there's, I would say the only question with her is maybe just some of the promos and some of the buildup, which I consider
this being Trish,
yeah, which I thought was somewhat lacking. But you bring along Lita, who I thought actually was the stronger of the two on the microphone, and if you do get your creative kind of up to par, I definitely think you could build up to that match. Yeah.
Charlie was in the back and interviewed the Bella Twins, it was Kayla Braxton who interviewed the Bella Twins because Kayla got scolded here. She brought up the twins insulting Rhonda's mother, and Brie said, "You're a journalist. You're supposed to put words into context." And Rhonda started it by bringing up our personal relationships to insult us. And Nikki said, "Tonight I'm dedicating my match to Rhonda's mother, who never was named."
No.
She doesn't have a name.
No.
Dr. Anne Maria DeMars.
Yeah, they mentioned her so much that I'm almost positive she is going to become an on-screen character.
Wait, I thought she was going to be in the front row, and I thought she was going to throw Brie during this match. I thought it would. Yeah. It was so tailor-made, this match.
Well, seeing how this went, I could definitely see her coming in for something else if this program between the Bellas and Rhonda continues. But yeah, Rhonda's mother. That's what she'll be identified as. Yeah.
Next was the 20-woman Battle Royal. No surprises in this. They removed Alicia Fox when she was inserted into the tag match. So we had Naomi, Michelle McCool, Alundra Blaze in a old Alundra Blaze outfit.
Did she have a wig on?
I don't think
was that her real hair or is that a wig?
I don't want to confirm or deny, but I thought
Okay, well, she definitely looked like or she was trying to look like 90s Alundra Bliss,
This
which
was
I
her
thought was kind
first
of cool.
match in 18 years.
That's amazing. Wow, that's amazing.
Carmella, Zelina Vega, Kelly Kelly, Tamina, Ember Moon, Lana, Maria Kanellis, who had Mike Kanellis and their baby with earmuffs on.
Adorable.
Oh my gosh. Mandy Rose, Molly Holly, Dana Brooke, Nia Jax, Ivory, Asuka, Tori Wilson, and then Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. The notable part was that all the women got entrances.
Oh,
They
yeah.
didn't rush them in.
Mhm.
And, you know, we always talk about that WrestleMania Battle Royal in Houston, where it was the same concept of bringing a lot of women from the past. They were going to do a Battle Royal, and they all came down to Kid Rock songs. And afterwards, Trish Stratus was asked to be in that Battle Royal, and she turned it down, stating it didn't sound like it was going to be special. Tori did say yes, and afterwards regretted it because it was such a, like, Sunny was in that match, and if you watch it, you can't even tell.
No,
And this one, like, at the very least, every woman got an entrance.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, it felt like it was especially important on this show to give every woman who was announced as being on the show kind of their time in the spotlight. And for most of them, the entrance really is, I think, the biggest part.
And as much time as they dedicated to everyone's entrance, they still went out of their way to give Peyton Royce and Billie Kay mic time. And I think that speaks volumes, literally and figuratively, to what they think of those two.
Of course.
That they needed mic time on top of this when they dedicated a lot of time to the intros.
This was why I was so disappointed in their particular appearance at Super Showdown. Like, in front of their hometown crowd, yes, they did get mic time, but they didn't get mic time to do their heel act. They came out as baby faces. That wasn't the case here. This was their high spot. It was them coming out and insulting this crowd.
They insulted Long Island getting to host such an important event. They made fun of how people from Long Island sound, which is very funny. And they're going to send their childhood heroes back into obscurity and called them all losers. And all of them ganged up on the Iconics and instantly eliminated the two. Perfect spot.
No reason for them to last any longer.
No, not at all. They also showed Jimmy Uso in the crowd. Besides Mike Kanellis, The Miz was there with Maurice. So those were some of the... and later we'd see Finn Balor as well, holding a Bayley sign. So we had this situation, this visual of the current women circling around the women from the past, which Maria defaulted to.
That's kind of nice.
I guess so. It kind of paints her as the veteran.
Yeah, she was around during this previous era. I think that's, recognizing.
Everyone starts fighting, and early on, it's Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose that get a lot of the shine. They knocked Molly Holly out. Then they eliminated Kelly Kelly. Then Rose eliminated Tori Wilson with a running knee. Tori Wilson was in there just long enough to remind me that less is probably the best.
I honestly don't remember a whole lot of her stuff in the match, and maybe that was all that.
She did not have the kind of moments she had in the Royal Rumble where it was not pretty.
I mean, I have to think that was fresh in everybody's mind, that type of match to, make sure that on a night like tonight, nobody embarrasses themselves.
Nia then tossed Alundra Blaze. There was a bit of disappointment there as she was kind of the legend of the match, I would say.
I guess so, but this was like one of the most lackadaisical eliminations of all time. Like,
nothing.
She was just like she was carried out basically and gently placed on the apron. And Alundra Blaze was just like, she didn't even fight it. She's like, yeah, I've had enough of this.
I mean, she's 54.
Wow.
So I mean, but in great shape.
Looks great for 54.
So Nia tosses out Alundra Blaze, who was not identified as Medusa, but as Alundra Blaze.
Well, that's her WWE Hall of Fame character, isn't it?
That's
Medusa's
right.
not.
That's right. Medusa hasn't gone to the Hall of Fame yet. Jax then just headbutted Maria Kanellis, who worked in a Bronco Buster,
which did not look good.
No, like it didn't.
Was that even one of her signature moves? I'm having a hard time remembering, and like it almost felt so really out of place. Like that's a very 90s move, and it wasn't even executed very well. It didn't really get that much of a reaction.
Well, at least it wasn't called the version that they had. It was the girl in the Filthy Animals in WCW. Remember where it was called a Face Full of Stuff?
Yes.
Jax and Tamina had this stare down, and they teased they were going to go at it, and then they just roared together and attacked all the other women.
Did you take that as a Roman Reigns tribute?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, me too. It was quite nice.
I also was noticing that Lana, the first time they did the stare down, Lana walks up into the middle.
Yeah.
Clearly not remembering that it was because she did this. She did it a second time.
I wonder though, because I mean, to me, whether or not it was a mistake, I felt like it worked because it was almost like, all right, they didn't listen to me the first time. I'm gonna come back a second time. It was like more of a recurring thing.
Maybe. So she did it again, and Tamina just tossed her out. Then they did an 8-person vertical suplex spot. Everyone's down with the exception of Carmella, who calls for the dance break, and Ivory joins her. And
what?
Ivory was trying to
listen.
dance.
I can't do any better. I'm no dancer myself, but I will say, like, in terms of dance breaks from the past, I kind of figure Kelly more fitting of that role, don't you?
Yeah, the maybe we could have had an
ECW dance
Extreme
break.
Expose reunion.
That's right.
So Mandy tries to eliminate Ivory, but Carmella gets tossed out first. Then Moon lifts up Dana Brooke and went to dump her to the floor, and it looked like her face hit the edge of the apron on the way down. Did not look pleasant. Moon then super kicked Michelle McCool off the apron. Naomi ran at Jax and was sent over the top. She was out. And then Ember Moon and Carmella tried this tilt-a-whirl spot, which just got mangled. And the polite Michael Cole just said, very unique, very unique.
Rather unique.
Moon then knocked Carmella out with a forearm strike. Ivory hit a top rope crossbody. I thought Ivory looked great in this match.
Yeah,
she did a lot more than I thought.
How old is she?
Probably around the same age. I want to say mid-50s.
56.
56.
Wow. Already.
So Ivory is placed onto the edge of the apron and was eliminated by an Asuka hip attack. So our final four, or at least that's what we thought, were Asuka, Ember Moon, Tamina, and Nia Jax. Moon and Asuka had this great sequence. It ended with a super kick in the ropes, and Asuka got tossed out. No win for Asuka. Moon then hit Tamina with the Eclipse, dumped her out. So we're down to the best buds, Moon and Jax, and everyone is going nuts for Ember Moon. This was her biggest reaction she's had on the main roster.
I have to agree. Yeah.
Then as Ember's trying to eliminate Jax, Zelina Vega pops up. She's never been eliminated. She tries to knock Jax over, but fails. Jax military presses her out, and then Jax and Moon fight with Jax dumping out Ember Moon at 16:25. I thought this match was so much better than I anticipated it being.
I'm with you. Yeah, it totally exceeded my expectations. I mean, going into it, I didn't expect anything more from this than what we got with the WrestleMania Battle Royal. Just an excuse to cram everybody on the show.
Neither.
But in execution, I found it way more entertaining than that WrestleMania Battle Royal. I thought it was better than the Rumble with the women this year. So I was really impressed at how they were able to make Tamina an actually believable threat. I like the little twist on that little rivalry they were building between her and Nia. Instead of the two of them going at each other, they ended up teaming up together, and I thought it made for a nice moment.
There were a lot of cool little spots they worked into it. I won't go. This was not the All-In Battle Royal. I won't go that far. The All-In Battle Royal was really great.
Yes,
but
it was. Yes, it was.
In terms of a match of where my expectation level was and over exceeding it,
was this better than the clusterfuck from Spring Break?
You know what? That clusterfuck was really, really long. So
that was not supposed to be good. I don't think the clusterfuck. It was.
I'll take this over the clusterfuck. This was a nice, tidy 16 and a half minutes. Yeah. Didn't drag.
They made Ember look tremendous here.
I know.
To the point where I was almost really disappointed that she didn't win, because I think her winning here would have
I wanted that match. I wanted that with Ronda. Yeah. And I thought Ember really needed it more than Nia, but I guess they're gonna go with Nia and Ronda again.
But I also think it's a great way to feel the waters with an Ember Moon, potential big babyface role.
Would you say she was the most popular in this match?
As a babyface, yes. I mean, how could you help it? She was the undersized person against the two giants at the end.
There wasn't really a whole lot of disappointment when Asuka was eliminated either. I think many people have just written her off, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very good battle royal, I will say.
Yeah, some sloppiness in there, but not enough to really dampen the match at all.
Considering some of the people in this match, like Tori, Kelly, it could have been way worse. Really, outside of that tilt-a-whirl, I didn't think anything glaring. And I thought they came up with a lot of creative stuff.
Like, I would say this match and even Trish and Lita, I was probably the most concerned for in terms of match quality. Seeing how those two matches turned out, I was eyeing the rest of the show as pretty smooth sailing, in my opinion.
All right. At the end of the show, everyone's gonna have their best match, and I'll ask you that, but I want your worst match as well.
I will try, but that's, like, even the worst match on the show I thought was very entertaining.
Charlie interviewed Nia in the ring, and she said, whoever wins the Raw Women's title won't have that title for very long. And the audience was into it. They reacted well to that line of Nia going after whoever is champion. They showed some of the Mae Young Classic competitors, Tegan Knox, Rhea Ripley, Tainara Conchi, and Meiko Satomura showing ringside.
Is Mako signed?
I don't believe so.
She's the only one who's of the group, right?
Yeah, I don't think she is signed, but the rest.
Do you think that there's a chance that they will sign her? I thought she was the best in the tournament.
She was great. I would love to see her come in. The question is, it's just a numbers thing of like, where do you put her?
Right.
And I think she'd struggle.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But in ring, like, she looks amazing. Anyway.
Yeah, but anyway. Toni Storm, Io Shirai, finals of the Mae Young Classic. Match began. How did you feel the audience reacted to these two? There were definitely pockets that, this was hardly the crowd sitting on their hands.
We wondered how hardcore is this crowd? They're obviously familiar with the Trish and Lita's. They're familiar with what they see on the main roster, but do they know Shayna Baszler and do they know Toni Storm? Have they been following this Mae Young Classic? I feel like I'm going to estimate maybe reaction of maybe 60%, 60 to maybe even 65% of this audience seemed really into it at the beginning of this match. They were cheering for both women. They were giving Aussie chants. They were cheering for Toni Storm and cheering for Io Shirai. But by the end of it, the match just had to be good enough that even people who didn't really know them could get into it.
All right. Of the 10,000 people at this arena, yeah, give me a number that you think looked at this on the card and thought that there was an intergender match.
Well, it's TONI. Io is hardly like a gender-specific name either.
I guess so. Maybe they thought that was a men's match. It was going to be the popcorn match. It'd be a total reversal.
Yeah. But even if there's a large section of the audience that wasn't familiar with these two, this was not a crowd that was about to throw beach balls for a match that they didn't know. Right?
This crowd was not going to let the show fail.
It was a respectful crowd. Yeah.
Shirai dropped Storm off the top turnbuckle, centered to the floor, and then followed with her own golden triangle.
From the top turnbuckle.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Very smooth.
Storm and Shirai are on the edge of the apron, and Storm hits a release German onto the edge. Now, for those that are not all up to date on Io Shirai's WWE history, she was going to be part of last year's Mae Young Classic, but she was flagged because she had neck issues. So ended up going back to Stardom, and then got through her physical to come back this year. And tonight was the night to take a released German onto the edge of the apron.
When you're cleared, you're cleared, right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Daniel Bryan came back from a 3-year injury and got powerbombed on the apron.
He's like, hey, Harper, tonight I want to take a fucking half Nelson onto my neck. I want to test it out. These are how wrestlers think. My complaint about that, she recovered way too fast from that spot. She was on the offensive within 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. Storm came back with a Storm Zero and hit a near fall. Storm Zero is her Tiger Driver. Shirai then hit a 619 and a springboard sunset flip for a 2 count. Shirai landed with the double knees, went for the moonsault off the top, which throughout the whole Mae Young Classic, Cole called the Acai moonsault. And he continued here with this top rope. Did you know? Great Keiji Muto, master of the Acai moonsault, it turns out. Lita hitting an Acai moonsault.
Maybe a Japanese person doing it just makes it Acai for whatever reason.
It's probably what's the name of that move she does?
Man.
And the guy was just like, asshole, moonsault.
What did you think of Cole? And what did you think of the commentary?
I had no problem really.
Me neither.
With the commentary at all.
Me neither. Not enough for me to notice. I think Cole's been getting a lot of flack on the Mae Young Classic.
I think on the Mae Young Classic, it's been fine.
He's been fine to me.
It's been fine. Yeah. I know there were a lot of people negative that Cole was calling this show. Who else was going to call this show? I think people
Beth Phoenix isn't calling this show. Renee Young's not calling this show.
Do you not understand the difference between play-by-play and color? Renee and Beth calling this show was better because Michael Cole was calling
100%.
it. That's their announcer. There is not a female play-by-play announcer that they have ready. Mm-hmm. There's no one else that could have done this show on that roster. Mm-hmm. Michael Cole was an essential component of
something to target next year.
Sure. but you have nobody that you're bringing up in that
I
role.
thought he did a fine job.
I mean, this would not have been a good show had Renee and Beth called it the two of them.
And I'll be honest, like I wouldn't have wanted JR on this show.
So you got Michael Cole? Yeah. So Shirai goes to the top for her moonsault, lands onto the knees, and like this, she just fully like extended and landed on these knees. Storm hit a second Storm Zero and wins the match. 10 minutes, 10 seconds.
Is she meant to like miss that moonsault like almost all the time? Like she either catches it with her arms or her knees.
That's how it goes for Shirai. But I would say the best match on the show thus far, but I thought this was too rushed. I thought these two really could have used an extra 5 or 6 minutes. And some of the matches after and before this got more time that I just wish they had gotten like 5 more minutes.
I agree with you, but was this the right crowd to do that 15-minute match in front of?
Maybe not. I feel the last 5, though, they would have been pretty hot for it. Maybe. I think that they would really... I thought they did a lot in their 10 minutes. They tried to cram everything into these 10. I just wish they had a bit more time.
I think judging by the indicator of like, you know, how much crowd interest there was in this match versus some of the other ones, I feel like it was almost an appropriate level, but
that's
I
fair.
Get it.
I'm speaking as someone that watched the Mae Young Classic, and you're right. There's a lot that didn't. So
I take it more as like, you know, you kind of you're giving up quality of match for the stage, and this was really just more of a stage to introduce Io Shirai and especially Toni Storm to kind of your wider audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
This also eliminated my in my preview on the site today. I outlined my plan to have Io Shirai win this, faces Kairi Sane for the title coming out of tonight for TakeOver in a couple of weeks.
No,
couldn't have been more wrong.
Oh well, I mean, I see them eventually perhaps getting there, but I kind of see the two of them working together instead.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. But, you know, I thought this was a good match.
It was a very good match.
Toni Storm definitely has that incredible star presence. I think Io Shirai does as well, but Toni Storm is like immediate. You could make money off of her immediately. You know,
she's only 23.
Yeah. Do you think this means she's done with the indies? Do you?
Oh, yeah. Completely. I imagine she's going to be on NXT UK, NXT.
And the main roster soon, I have to think.
She should be on the main roster.
Yeah. She's so young, though. They still have a lot of time with her.
So then we had Paul Levesque, Stephanie McMahon, and Sarah Amato inside the ring congratulating the women and presenting Toni Storm with the trophy and flowers. And then we went on to our first ad for Crown Jewel. I understand that they've got to treat these shows with the same promotion. God, did these stick out like a sore thumb on such a feel-good show.
They did not shy away from it, you know, like despite all the criticism.
But they did not say Saudi Arabia.
They did not say Saudi Arabia, yeah. But they're going ahead. I think they're going ahead with the impression that the majority of their audience, I don't know if I want to say majority or not, but I feel like they feel a big portion of their audience is not aware of all this stuff that's going on.
I'm sure that there are a lot that are not. I just felt, especially on this show, like you can praise the WWE and they went overboard on it on this show, but it's like for whatever praise they get out of this show, they deserve it and then some for the other side, because you cannot just blindly praise and then ignore what's happening. Yes. To me, it's like as good as one is, the other is even way worse. And it really stuck out. And they showed an ad later in the show because they showed the Cole, Beth, and Renee on the big screen, and the logo came up and everyone booed it. It was pretty audible. Riot Squad versus Natalya, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. The Riot Squad came dressed out as the horror characters Jigsaw, Pennywise, and Leatherface.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Liv Morgan, also, she probably just catching up on the G1 now. She does travel a lot, came out with a balloon, and then Ruby popped it.
I mean, that's also maybe Okada's influence.
Liv Morgan.
Pennywise.
No. It could be. Natalya, Banks, and Bayley, big reaction coming out for the three of them. Early on, Natalya and Banks hit a heart attack onto Morgan, and Bayley hit a sliding drop kick under the bottom turnbuckle onto Logan. Then she went for one to Ruby and Morgan, but in doing so, she slid under and Logan was in the ring and drop kicked her, hit a sliding baseball slide drop kick, sending her into the post. I thought that was great.
Really great timing.
Yeah, I've never seen like a spot like that.
Yeah, sandwiched her basically between her feet in the post.
Yeah. So Bailey fought, finally tagged in Sasha, who got an enormous reaction. Banks is working in the ring with Ruby. Blind tag was made to Bailey, and they did a sequence where Banks hit the backstabber into a Bailey to belly, but the pin was broken up. Banks then went for a somersault dive, and she just came up way too short. She landed seated onto the edge of the apron instead of clearing the apron. And the Riot Squad just lifted her, tossed her into the guardrail. And Banks was then set up for a top rope splash, but Bailey got on top of her to cover her. So Ruby hit a senton onto both women.
So trying to kind of rekindle that. I mean, at this point, what do you even call that relationship?
It's complicated.
It is very complicated. But I mean, it's not like they were teasing all that much between Bailey and Sasha leading up to this. Like, for the past several months, they've just been straight up friends, right? So I think to reintroduce how this bit of melodrama with Bailey all of a sudden giving up her body to protect Sasha, to me kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. And I also felt like it was hard to believe in, because Bailey could have just ran into the corner and taken out Ruby with just as much time and energy.
Maybe Bailey was just selling the effects of trauma and was trying to pin Sasha and didn't realize it was her partner. Natalia's in, double sharpshooter to Riot and Logan. And then the finishing sequence was great. It ends with Bailey hitting a top rope elbow to Liv Morgan and then got up, suicide dive to the floor. Banks then landed a frog splash in honor of Eddie Guerrero and pinned Liv Morgan. 13 minutes, 40 seconds.
You mentioned the double sharpshooter, right?
Yes.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yes.
It looked really good. Actually.
I know. Yeah, she's really got that down. She applied it to Riot and Logan.
Yeah. This match was great, man.
This was a hot 6-person tag that you'd see on a house show. They never get this time typically. Well, they do get this time on TV, but it's never with this kind of a reaction.
I feel like I've seen these women wrestle at house shows. I don't know if I've seen a match like that. I thought this effective. And again, I think we have to mention how hot this crowd was.
Dude, the crowd was literally, they elevated so much on this show. You take this crowd away, this show is not as well received as it is.
Completely.
Long Island, A+.
But you know what stood out to me in this match was the chemistry of the Riot Squad together as a 3-person team. I thought their quick tags in and out all worked really well. I like those 3 a lot. In the commentary, they kept talking about how these 3 are the tightest group in the company, to the point where they all tattooed the date of their debut onto themselves. And I think little facts like that help, but I was more so impressed with them in ring. I really love the finish with Natty doing that power bomb, and then Bailey blind tags, hits her move, Sasha blind tags, and then hits her move, all in beautiful sequence. It was really good.
Yeah, I think Ruby Riott is so underrated in terms of being the leader of that group, and I think helping the others progress.
Yeah, I feel like they haven't really fully come into their own yet, especially the other 2. But I think at this point, this was perhaps the most impressed I've been.
So far, very, very good show. I think all the matches have had their own unique characteristics. They felt important in their own way. And even this, which a lot of people were looking at this was almost like a throwaway involving Bailey and Sasha, but this match, I thought it was as good as you could have expected, and then some.
I think that's what really got me really excited for the rest of the show, is because all the stuff I considered filler was good. So that means all the stuff I'm looking forward to must be really good.
Yeah, to follow that, we got into the title matches.
We should also mention that there are a bunch of videos all throughout the evening of all the participants of the night being interviewed, talking about the significance of the women's evolution, what it means, and it features a number of them crying, getting emotional, talking about where they were versus where they are today. And I think that this might be one of those instances where you felt like the stuff about women's empowerment being a little bit too heavy-handed.
There was a lot of it on the show. And listen, I don't want to come across condescending, because to these performers, I think most of them, it's a very big deal for them just having this path that you do have in the WWE that you didn't at one point. At the same time, when they go so deep into what I can now tell my children is possible in this world and stuff like that, it's in this whole thing, it's who are the ones that were stopping this from happening?
Yes.
There were no laws that were magically changed in order to have this. This wasn't something like the the MMA getting into New York or something that was just this outdated bill that restricted any of this. This was the company's own directive that they didn't see these women having the ability to be able to carry a show or to be put into prominent positions. And you had this ridiculous obsession with putting women on TV with as minimal clothes as possible.
It doesn't mean that I think the changes don't deserve to be said. You know, I think change deserves to be applauded, but at the same time, I think accountability.
I can ease it on
too.
the like patting ourselves on the back kind of thing.
I agree.
But these women, like I don't question the sincerity for a lot of these women, but I also look at this company that is very much looking at this as
a marketing strategy.
Yeah, look at us in 2018. Women can wrestle.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. That's great. You're at the starting line now of where many other places
We're no longer 10 years behind.
Kairi Sane, Shayna Baszler for the NXT women's title. Huge NXT chant at the start of this. Baszler got the advantage after throwing Sane into the steps. And my negative on the commentary during this match was that I got the sense that these three were not super familiar with Shayna Baszler. Like you got the sense when Baszler did like her trademark, stomping the elbow. Right. It's like they're calling it the hand. And it was just like little things where you felt like they weren't as up on these two specifically. Baszler landed this flying knee to the chest and then this spinning back fist by Kairi Sane that was slightly off, and she kind of paused and then just continued.
See, it was off, but I thought that worked because her arm was supposed to be injured.
Yeah, it was the left arm.
Yeah,
so it would at least
totally
make sense.
Worked, and I kind of wish the announcers.
I think it was more Kairi Sane had this like she had this like deer in the headlights response to it because she just kind of stood there and like didn't keep going. Baszler stopped Sane on the apron, lifted her arm up off the apron with the submission applied to the damaged arm. I thought Shayna was just great as her bully
She's awesome.
Submission expert.
She's awesome.
Sane caught her with a DDT, went to the top, and then Baszler just rolled to the floor. So Sane adjusted and hit a cross body to the floor. And the whole place is chanting NXT. And then Kairi takes Shayna and tosses her into the front row where a bunch of the women from NXT are sitting, including Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir. Both tried to attack Sane, and Sane is able to hit Duke with this awesome spinning back fist. Like she just clocked Duke with this. And then she knocked Shafir off of the apron. So you think that Sane is free from the interference, but this allows Shayna to apply the Kirifuda clutch. And Sane does the roll up on top for a 2 count. Duke returns, nails Kairi from the floor, and Baszler reapplies the Kirifuda clutch, and Sane passes out at 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Shayna wins the title.
I love this match. I fucking loved it. I mean, first of all, I love this pairing because you have such a pure heel and such a pure babyface colliding. And I feel like it's not that often in wrestling where I feel like you have that anymore, especially with men. But these two, I thought like Kairi's selling of that rear naked choke pass out was like a real thing of beauty because it was so subtle and it felt so realistic, yet at the same time, so incredibly poetic. She didn't squirm too much. She didn't make too many crazy faces. It wasn't like, I'm acting like I'm passing out.
She didn't do the Nikki Cross and smile before she fell asleep.
It was nothing silly like that. It was just a feeling of life passing out of her. It was so fucking good. I thought this was just a great match. It's hard, you know, Kairi Sane, I think, might be one of the best pure baby faces in the company right now. And I think Shayna is just such a great I don't give a fuck heel with some of the nastiest looking offense in the company. There was like that like the cross body off the top.
By Sane.
Yeah, which I thought I think it's something we've seen typically, somebody who, you know, is about to dive into the middle of the ring but changes their mind. But I don't know. There's just something about that particular moment that felt so special. Like this to me,
that move freaks me out now because that's how Joey Janela destroyed his knee.
Right.
Just a similar
or
spot.
Any of those topes.
Yeah.
You know, in the Mae Young Classic. But
yeah, this was I didn't think this reached like the high drama of like some of the the match that we're about to discuss. But I thought I was so happy with this finish because I was worried that I thought Sane was winning this match and Baszler was main roster bound. And I'm so glad she's not going to the main roster. I am so worried about these two on the main roster. I think these two, they're going to be unique cases.
I don't think you have to worry as much about Shayna.
I still do. I think even with the connection to Ronda, I think she's a personality that has to be very carefully presented because she doesn't have the traditional traits that get over.
It's not traditional, but I
no,
feel
but
like
it's 100%. You don't have to sell me on her. It's
Yeah.
so unique and it works. But
she's
in the
just a
wrong
bully.
hands,
she's Baron Corbin, but like I think a Baron Corbin who could wrestle. That's who Shayna Baszler is, and that seems like somebody who Vince McMahon knows how to push or wants to push.
It's so hard to say. It could be someone that she doesn't cut a great promo. She's older than
Her
some
promos
of the.
I think are awesome.
Well, listen.
But I know what you mean.
I would love
to
know know that there's such a wide view of talent that can get over. But Shayna's one. I'm not upset that she's staying in NXT and she's got a group now.
Yeah, I know
that great introduction for Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, and I think they can just run roughshod.
It tells me they must be pretty confident in Marina and Jessamine.
They've only been doing this a few months,
Yeah.
and they're rushing them to TV now.
to NXT.
And that tells me they want Shayna down there for a while because I don't see them abandoning Duke and Shafir without Shayna.
Yeah, the way I see it is I see the three of them going up against Kyrie, probably bringing two of her friends. And I could see Tony Storm and Io Shirai being those two friends.
That could be great. You could do that for TakeOver.
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So this one, very surprising. Was not expecting the title change here, but I was glad with what they did here.
I love this
really
match.
great finish. Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair for the last women's standing match for the SmackDown Women's title. This audience, this was their main event.
This match took place at 9:20.
Oh,
and
dude,
I was like,
don't even get me started on the time.
When is this show about to end? Because like we scheduled this our live show for 11 o'clock, thinking that it might go up to it. But 9:20 was a semi-main.
It was in the back of my mind the whole time. I thought when this match ends, I'd be thinking in my head, we could be done by 10:30. And I was just, I didn't even allow myself to think about it because I was just going to hear Stephanie's theme and then she'd come out for the big, I'm here, everybody. Women are the result of my work.
Or Elias comes out and you get like a big 15-minute.
But no Stephanie on it. Like Stephanie was showing, we saw her, but I thought we were going to get a big, like there were no announcements. There was nothing in that regard from Stephanie, which I liked. I didn't need Adam and Eve coming out to proclaim their greatness at the start of the show. They were present, but they weren't overbearing. So the match begins. This audience, they were 100% behind Becky and 100% against Charlotte.
Not split at all.
No.
100.
And I didn't mind because it made this match feel so the introductions, they're going nuts. Like you could tell this was the match they were here for.
They're singing Becky's song.
Oh, it was great.
Chanting her name even after the song stops.
So they reserved all the weapons for this match. They brought out a kendo stick early. The crowd is chanting ECW as the women fill the ring with chairs. Becky then is attacking her with chair shots as the crowd chanted, "You deserve it," at Charlotte. Becky is taking over. She sets up Charlotte onto a table inside the ring, but then gets stopped by Charlotte. The fans booed this. They just wanted to see Charlotte go through a table. So Becky is then placed on the table. So Charlotte goes for a top rope moonsault. The table turns over. Even the table turns on Charlotte, just like all the fans.
No, I am the table.
Charlotte just goes right back to it. Somersault off the top, puts Becky through the table. So
I thought they recovered really well.
I'm glad she didn't do the moonsault.
Exactly.
She changed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like the usual, like, oh, my spot didn't work, I'm just going to do it again kind of move. Charlotte then brought a ladder into the ring. They're fighting everywhere. Did you notice this? At one point, the ladder stood up.
I did, yeah, on its own.
The ladder stood up on its own, and then Becky, I thought this was the biggest heel move. She shoved it over. It was like a perfect deck of cards, like a house of cards, and she just knocked it over. It's like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it was like
I've never seen a ladder balance itself.
The ladder
like
was making a run in.
This was like top 3 spots of the whole show.
It was like the Undertaker.
Yeah, it was. So Charlotte attacked Becky's knee and wraps it around the ladder, applying the figure 4 and bridges into the figure 8. This looks so cool.
Yeah, like I think a move that I think in theory could have been really awkward. It could have looked really bad and they could have really messed it up. But I think the bridge was executed and it looked good by the end.
Becky's tapping, but of course that doesn't count. And then she breaks free with a chair and Becky's done. She grabs her title and she goes to leave through the crowd. And this was the only thing of the match because it was so dark. The fighting in the crowd, it just looked like you needed a flashlight to see what they were doing.
I mean, they did have like a spotlight on them.
Yeah, it was like, just I don't know. More so when Becky was leaving and they were trying to chase her. It was like she was going off into the woods or something. They had a big chop battle in the audience, and they came back and fought ringside. Becky nailed Charlotte with the belt, placed Charlotte onto the announcer's desk, and climbed the ladder, putting her through with a leg drop. Charlotte is up at 9. Becky continues to attack her, buries her with all these chairs, including the devastating office chairs.
Oh, yeah.
They were out in full force tonight, Way.
Office Depot.
And then the ultimate Charlotte meme. I mean, if she is ever like presented as the unbeatable woman that no one can beat, this is going to be the meme. She emerges. Cole yells, "Charlotte has risen!" Like this was like the Swamp Thing coming up from underneath the ground.
Like the girl from The Ring.
Yeah. This was The Ring, or Ringu for those that saw the Japanese version. She emerges from the rubble and then attacks Becky with kendo shots, spears Becky, and then places Becky onto a table on the floor. Charlotte climbs up the turnbuckle, gets stopped, and Becky power bombs her off the apron through the table. And Charlotte is struggling. She can't get up. And the match ends 28 minutes and 38 seconds to retain the SmackDown Women's title. I'm glad we don't do picks because my picks would have been atrocious on this show. Awesome match. One of the best WWE matches this year. I think this is going to be a match that I think Evolution after tonight, it has to be a yearly event, and they are going to go back. Like this was a gigantic match that is going to be presented as a legendary match in WWE history.
I agree with you. I think at the end of this show, this is the one that people are going to remember. Like when we do Rewind Away for this show in like 10 years, we'll probably be talking about this match as the highlight of the show.
Yeah, I think this was like an Edge, Christian, and Hardy's kind of match for, these two are much further advanced in their careers than they were in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
But
I thought it was a perfect style of match for this point in the feud. Like I think so often we get hardcore matches or Hell in a Cell matches when at points where like feuds don't deserve it. But with these two, the feud is at a point now that where a last man standing match or a hardcore match, I think is warranted. And I feel like it's also like the character, and I think the interest level in somebody of a Becky Lynch is at the point now where this match felt really right to do. So we don't see hardcore often enough with the women. I think that's partly because I don't know how many of them can execute it well, and also because they probably don't have many storylines that get to this point where you kind of deserve like a really weapons heavy match. But these two executed really well. Like a lot of the chair spots were great. Some of the table spots were done really well. The stuff, like everything hit with this audience, and I can't really ask for more for
this was excellent. Like to me, slam dunk match of the night. Like to me, no question.
I'm really glad that they decided to keep the belt on Becky. I think more
does
so.
Does this end the feud?
I don't think so. I mean,
I think Charlotte has to win in the end.
But I mean, you could take a break from it. Charlotte couldn't finally win at WrestleMania or something like that. But
you have the pay-per-view and Survivor Series that you can get by without doing that. You could do Becky versus Ronda at Survivor Series. If you are going to do that,
I wouldn't though, man, because like I think both of them are really hot right now. But I'm glad that because I think a Charlotte win would have ended this feud, and it means you would have ended the Becky experiment. And I think it's way too soon to end the Becky.
I thought Becky for sure Charlotte was winning this, and honestly, like they gave the finish this audience wanted.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I think that was I think people were legitimately surprised Becky won, and that added to it as well. Mm-hmm. So excellent match. If you missed this show, I'd recommend the whole show. But this would be the match above all else.
But especially with the crowd, like I can see people referring to this match as a classic on the level of like a Bayley versus Sasha from Brooklyn.
Yeah. I thought this was better than Bayley and Becky. Bayley and Sasha, I think.
Wow.
Just in terms of,
I have to go back to watch it, but like that's really high praise because
I'm one like too that thought that their match the following month, the Iron Woman match that they did was actually better than the Brooklyn match. But I think I'd put this ahead of it. I haven't watched those matches recently, but I thought this was really, really great. Maybe one put ahead of the Iron Man match. The Iron Man match had that awesome where she was stomping on the hand that I remember.
Right.
It was really good. Main event, Ronda Rousey, Nikki Bella for the Raw Women's title. Brie and Nikki just came out, tons of heat. Brie's waving a Bellalution flag because she just listened to Battleground 2016 and thought of, flags. That'd be a great idea. Rousey came out, thunderous ovation. Audience was super heated again during the introductions.
What do you think of the idea of putting these two last? I know you expected it.
I expected it.
It
didn't follow it.
Didn't ruin the show, I thought.
No, it didn't ruin it, but I completely understand why they wanted Ronda to be in that final image.
Babyface win.
So I don't fault them for doing it that way,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's no question which match was more strong, and I wouldn't have seen them ending the show with Becky winning. Right. So I see why they did it. Match begins, and Ronda is just tossing Nikki around. They changed the tide on the floor because Brie distracts Ronda, and they nailed Ronda into the post. She just sprinted into this thing, and Nikki takes over for the longest time. She applied a head scissors while doing push-ups. I never saw Mark Harmonic do that. Ronda is placed on top, and she went to kick Brie off the apron, but she didn't connect with Brie, but Brie sold it anyway and fell off the apron. Rousey then dove off the top for what I believe is her first crossbody off the top. Missed. And then Nikki hit a baseball slide and slid to the floor. Rousey lifted up Nikki. Brie tries to stop her, so she lifts up both onto her shoulders and dumped them with the standing reverse Kataguruma, the still nameless move. Even today, it didn't even get like the special name for today.
Eventually, I hope that they name it. Maybe the mom will name it. But you know, there are a lot of really ambitious like double team spots on this between like the double sharpshooter, the figure four around the ladder, and then even this double kataguruma,
reverse kataguruma.
A lot of it could have gone wrong, and it all went pretty well.
Rousey is trash talking as she's hitting her with strikes and throwing Nikki around, like, to the point that like you're willing on Nikki here for a big comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think she's better. Like what was the last match that we were like really complaining about?
I think the second Alexa Bliss match, or maybe the SummerSlam Alexa Bliss match, which was
that one? Yeah,
I think so.
But anyway, like she was talking way too much,
well, and she's also calling her spots loudly.
I know, and it wasn't good talking. There was one moment here where like you can hear like,
in the corner, and you can hear her
ready?
Like.
That's also because I think the audio like boosts up the ring mic as well, so that you can hear instances. But she's definitely gotten better, but maybe just it's not perfect yet.
Brie gets tossed over the announcer's desk when she tried to attack Rousey. Back to Nikki, and she gets caught with an Alabama slam. Rousey is thrown shoulder first into the post, and Nikki hits the rack attack 2.0 for a huge near fall. Nikki is throwing a tantrum. Rousey flips her off of the turnbuckle into the center. She like she almost like got her legs underneath her arms and then just flipped her over.
It looked like she might have even been going for like a flying armbar.
I thought like that was what she was trying. Yeah. She flipped her off and then applied the arm breaker. I think you're right. I think she was trying to do...
I'm not sure if she was, because like she did all the posing and all the theatrics afterwards, like in front of the hard cam. So I'm assuming that this was what she was meant to do.
So she applies the arm breaker. Nikki taps, 14 minutes, 8 seconds. I'll go first. I did not like this match. I thought that it was very sloppy at times. I thought it was the worst match on the show. The audience didn't treat it as such. I just felt that it went kind of long. Yeah.
I thought it was excellent. I had a lot of fun watching it. And I know I'm not watching a Nikki Bella Ronda Rousey match for technical prowess. I'm watching for energy. I'm watching for excitement in the crowd. And this audience was like completely into this.
The audience was into it.
I thought Nikki played a great heel. I thought Ronda's judo looked awesome.
See, I thought Ronda played a great heel.
Well, I mean, she came across as a bit of a bully at times too. But like, I thought like it was a relatively simple match. You get the double team on Ronda, and then you build sympathy on Ronda before she comes back with her big fire up. I mean, I remember like just seeing last month when like we all felt Ronda's selling was like maybe too much and it was kind of off. Well, I mean, I feel like she's already fixed that. Like she went 15 minutes with Nikki Bella, and I thought it was a good 15 minutes. That's me. If you didn't like it, if you felt it was the worst match on the show, I can't even disagree, because like I thought the rest of the show was very strong too. But I personally really enjoyed this.
Well, that was a main event. Yeah, I just the audience they were into it. I just think if you do have to pick a worst match, this was my worst match, and I just thought a lot of it there was just some timing issues, and it was just I didn't get all that into it, and I think part of that was following the last match that they had as well.
Okay,
but that said, thumbs up show. This was one of the better WWE shows this year. What was your best and worst match way?
My favorite match was Becky and Charlotte. I thought that was better than Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely between those two. I thought that both of them were really excellent matches. My worst match, I'm gonna say Trish and Lita versus Alicia and Mickey.
What do you think they do now with this? Like, Evolution, at the bare minimum, has to be a yearly event.
I think so.
Do you think that
they're gonna go back to Crown Jewel like multiple times a year? So yeah,
yeah, maybe there's gonna be multiple a year.
Yeah.
I guess it's very interesting what you follow this up with, because this was like,
I think you could do more than yearly.
well, that's what I'm asking. Is maybe they look further to this? I mean, they talked about on the conference call this week the idea that they've thrown around the idea of an all-women's show.
Seeing this, I feel like that's. I mean, what's the roster that you use though? Because a big portion of this was the women's roster from your typical show. So
yeah,
who do you fill that women's roster with?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, are you going to dilute your Raw and SmackDown talent? Are they going to do double duty and have another show? And on top of it, is part of the what people loved about this show so much is that you don't get to see this kind of a show every week.
Yeah.
And it felt very special going into it.
Is there a reason to do one of these a year?
Is there a reason?
Yeah, meaning, is there a reason why we have to seclude, a specific gender to one show? I know Saudi Arabia is a whole different issue, but like from their perspective, like, does this work?
Are you asking that by doing this every year, it's actually a negative for moving their women's wrestling forward, that it's left to once a year we do an all women's show?
I mean, not
instead
so
of having more prominent spots year round.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like, rather than, maybe giving the women prominent spots in all the shows, do we need one specific time of year to actually celebrate them when maybe every show should be a main event?
I'm much more with you. I think the idea that a Charlotte Becky can't close a show, this it's not even worth comparing. This was like 5 million times better than Hunter and Undertaker going the same amount of time. Like, it's not even a question of who had the better match this month, given the same amount of time. That I think women's matches closing a pay-per-view shouldn't even be like some incredible feat that we acknowledge. Like, that should just be, if it's a hot feud, it closes the show.
Yeah.
Like, this show carried itself without any problems, and it should not be any kind of big deal now for women to close a pay-per-view, to be pushed as the A storyline on Raw or SmackDown. If they've got the hot feud, that should be the and they've done that on SmackDown a lot with Charlotte and Becky. If you have the right combination, you don't do it just for brownie points with everybody. You do it because it's the hottest program and the women are legitimately competing with the men for those top spots.
Yeah.
And this show proved that if you give them that outlet, they can deliver, and they can have a match of the year contender if you have the right people out there.
Yeah, certainly.
So maybe it should be more of a, like, indoctrinated into the week-to-week presentation of women, rather than just one pay-per-view a year, and we do, our first time ever match once a year too, with a whatever gimmick it is.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I would say, like, over the past month, we've seen them incorporate a lot more women's storylines, a lot more airtime for a lot of the women throughout the body of the program. And I'm hoping it's not just a trend, in the lead up to this Evolution show, and that it continues for all their shows moving forward. But, like, it's almost honestly at the point now where you don't even really think about it, and we're all just here to watch good wrestling, whether it be from men or from women. And this was a show that provided good wrestling. That's it.
So I want everyone to feel like this was Friday night going out for ice cream, and Friday is going to feel like the first day back at school after a great summer, and everyone's miserable, and it's going to be what's the opposite of ice cream? You're going out for broccoli. I don't know. I don't know what to compare it to. This is the feel good show of the week, and Friday is going to be the feel bad show of the week, because I think this almost makes Friday feel even worse, because everyone is going to be looking at this show as like, okay, this was like this was a great show for this company. And
yeah, I'm even hesitant to, like, talk about this as any type of big statement. To me, this was it was a good wrestling show.
The way they position this though, that's exactly how they marketed this.
Which is, I'm saying that's all kind of bullshit. This was just a good wrestling show, and that's all you really have to say about it.
Yeah.
Friday is a different issue. Friday is like, even if they have a great wrestling show on Friday,
no one's watching for the wrestling.
There's a bigger story involved with that show.
It's just, I'm just saying, it's disingenuous the way they push something like this, knowing that this is the same company doing that.
Yeah, I'm almost ignoring all that other stuff. Let's go to the feedback.
All right,
shall we?
There's probably a bit of it here. So let us start off with the poll way. On a scale of 1 to 20.
1 to 20. I'm going to guess this was a pretty positive reaction.
I bet it's a pass.
I'm guessing it's a pass. Do you think it's more than 15?
Yes.
Do you think it's more than 18?
Yes.
Wow. Do you think it's more than 19?
No, our forum is not that.
I'm with you. I'm going to say 18 and a half.
18 and a half? 17.07.
You guys are brutal. Yeah. Must be the Nikki Bella.
I want a thumbs down response from someone here. Let's start off with Carl from the UK. This probably sounds a bit of a stupid thing to say because wrestling is wrestling at the end of the day. But as a person who has only watched WWE throughout my lifetime, they've conditioned me in a way to only watching one women's match, maybe two at the most, for a pay-per-view show. So I was worried I might become overwhelmed come the fifth match. All these women. But for a 3-hour show that perhaps lacked a few big match attractions going in, I was thoroughly entertained throughout. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, I've never understood that. Like for things like the Mae Young Classic, I was more engaged in that than I have been for like the majority of certainly your Raws and SmackDowns, even a lot of your NXTs. So anyway, maybe this will change your mind. Jake from the Windy City, I wasn't even a fan of building up leading up to the show, and to be honest, I wasn't looking forward to it. Tonight, these ladies really proved me wrong. It was a great show, lots of better than expected matches. Becky and Charlotte was a 5-star caliber match with so much emotion. There's a question for you. Do you think it gets 5 stars from Dave? I mean, I hate to like ask for your opinion about another man's opinion.
Yeah, I think that's really hard to predict.
All right. With so much emotion and drama that I have never seen in a long time, Nikki and Rousey was what it was from a match quality standpoint. This was low on the list for the night. At the same time, the match worked for what it was, and that's what counts. And Ronda is the big draw for the company, so I have no problem. Overall, Evolution exceeded my expectations, although I was a little bummed that there wasn't a female cover of Motorhead's Evolution theme song.
Did you notice the theme song was Salute?
I did notice, yeah.
They played
that wasn't the song they played at the beginning, was it?
No.
It was a song called Evolution.
Oh, I didn't even notice the song at the beginning. I just had that Salute song all night long. Connor from St. Paul, fun match to start off, even with Alexa being unable to get involved physically. She did get physically involved at one point when she yanked off Lita. Yeah. Mickey and Trish got a great reaction, and Lita's moonsault was actually pretty good, much safer than the last one I recall her doing at the Rumble onto Sasha and Becky. Good Rumble with a lot of fun spots, and Ember was made to look great. Not super excited about going back to the Ronda-Nia angle, but there is potential for a good story. I enjoyed the 3 versus 3, but just had one small note I found interesting. When Cole mentioned Sasha had 4 title reigns, I got curious and looked it up. In her 4 reigns, she was champion for 82 days, or an average of 20.5 days per reign. For some contrast, Bayley's 1 reign was 76 days.
That was a crazy feud between her and Charlotte where they just hot potato that.
She goes on to say that by far Becky and Charlotte's best match. Only small thing that annoyed me was Becky's coward act after Charlotte got up from under the chairs. Main event was solid. Looks like the work Ronda and Nikki did worked out, and the match is really good. Overall, every match delivered or over-delivered for what seemed to be the general expectation going in. I did feel a little weird seeing the Crown Jewel advertising on this pay-per-view, though.
Becky's coward act, I mean, I'm with you, Connor. I feel like it's kind of unnecessary, and it's not working. Like, people are going to cheer her regardless of how you position her as a coward or whatnot. I've just come to accept it, I guess.
It's the character they're pushing.
Yeah. Bill and Alex from Orlando. Bill reporting solo as Alex was representing all the postal workers at Evolution.
Oh.
Alex indicated that
Oh, wait. Does that mean Alex was at the show?
Yeah, he means. I guess like he considers the fans postal workers. Alex must be the one with the sign.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Post office. Yes. Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. Post office in the house.
Yes.
Alex indicated that that Lita got the biggest pop out of the 4 in the tag match. Nikki had a lot of support during her promo. Battle Royal, biggest pop was for Nia coming to the ring. The crowd was disappointed when Naomi got eliminated, but happy when Nia finished it off. Will Kairi be on the main roster tomorrow or Tuesday since she lost? What do you think, John?
Oh, man.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think she's going to the main roster.
I don't think so. Becky versus Charlotte match of the night. Great spots all throughout. It seemed like Nikki had a couple of close calls, landing badly on her neck. I still don't like how Ronda talks in the ring. That seems more like a heel tactic to me. Very good show. 8 postal workers out of 10.
All right. We go to Zach. Overall, I thought this was a pretty solid show. Production-wise, the show clearly had less money put into it than most main roster WWE shows. Minimal staging, clothed metal barricades, no LEDs over the ring apron, etc. This was especially noticeable with the crowd lighting, although I'm probably in the minority who doesn't like the crowd lit up, as I usually find it distracting from the action in the ring. The 3 matches I was interested in: Mae Young Classic Final, NXT Championship, and SmackDown Women's Championship delivered big time for me. The other matches were all fine for what they were. They didn't exceed my expectations, but weren't offensively bad either. Some other thoughts: Lita's moonsault had good rotation and looked great. Nia and Rousey again does absolutely nothing for me, and knowing Bliss will probably somehow get involved is a major turnoff. Storm and Shirai gave me what I like about wrestling these days, but I would have liked it to have gone a few minutes longer. Sane and Baszler was my match of the night and perhaps the best of their series so far. These two have amazing chemistry, did a good job of formally introducing the rest of the MMA horsewomen to the WWE universe. As a last woman standing match, it really couldn't be anything other than a plunder match, but Becky and Charlotte brought it, and the big spots were impressive and should be memorable for a while. And I want to see what kind of match Ronda can have with Asuka or Charlotte or any of the great working women with weeks of meticulous planning. At the rate we're going with Ronda, it feels like we'll see feuds with Dana, Carmella, Lana, Maria, Maurice, and Mandy before we'll see Ronda with an actual talented in-ring female.
Yeah. I don't really mind all that though, because like let's look at her MMA career. I don't want to say that a lot of the people she fought weren't talented, but they were all, a lot of them were just like complete like squash matches. And I think that's totally fine in this first year that you're building up Ronda Rousey. Just serve her up with like a bunch of people that she can armbar really quickly. I mean, you don't want to eat through everybody, but there are some of those out there, like a Lana or like even like a Mandy. You know, you could just like have quick squash match with, and I think satisfy certain people. And
I think it would help to, if you are going to have her more on television, I would rather the TV match be short matches with people lower on the card, like,
and the attraction is just to see Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, do something like that, because I don't want her doing all 12, 13-minute matches. I mean, that's when she should be on the road doing the longer matches. Right. And you can do longer matches at pay-per-views, but I think you should keep that in people's head that she can win a match in 60 seconds if she needs to.
Seeing how everything went with them today, how long do you think we are from Ronda Rousey and 4 horsewomen like Shayna, Marina, and Jessamine interaction?
I'd say pretty far.
The characters are completely different.
They're all different, and it looks like the Ronda's team are all going to be tied up in NXT for the foreseeable future. Right. So I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
There is also like zero tease in the direction of Ronda beyond anyone than Nia. Like not even. I thought maybe we'd have Ronda and Charlotte coming out of the show, like maybe that closing scene, which we didn't even mention. Ronda, after celebrating, the whole locker room emptied out for what looked like a big photo op. It was just all the women.
And they wouldn't have been able to do that with Becky.
Well, I was just saying that, yeah, it probably didn't fit as well with Becky, but what I could have seen was doing something like that at the end where you have Ronda and Charlotte holding up their titles with everybody out there, and it's just subtle. Like, these are the 2 women's champions, and it's just that seed that's planted, that here are the best of the 2 brands, and it's the match everyone wants to see, and it's just the first little tease in that direction. That's what I thought would be something they could have done.
We got to Alex in Norway, who says the constant patting themselves on the back and some production flubs put a little damper on it, but the show was great. Especially love the Battle Royal and, of course, the one true champion, Becky Lynch. I feel like they reluctantly made one of the best pay-per-views in years. Thank you, Stephanie. A thought in relation to their spot on the card: I don't think I dislike any of the women performers. While there are several male performers I really don't like. I'm not sure why.
All right, we go to Steve from British Columbia. Great show tonight. Becky and Charlotte may have been the best main roster women's match we've seen. Ronda and Nikki was pretty good, but I still think Ronda sells too much in her matches. But I understand you can't have 3-minute squashes in high-profile matches, as they will get old real quick. Question: do you foresee the usual brand versus brand format for Survivor Series this year? It seems they could be taking a big risk of derailing the positive reactions Ronda's been getting by putting her against a strong fan favorite in Becky Lynch. As it's been shown, Becky is pretty bulletproof when it comes trying to get her booed.
I really hope not. I don't think the bragging rights thing ever works. I hate when they put champions against other champions and have,
Yeah.
have to have one of them lose by like stupid means. And it's a match where like we always have to suspend that month's television because they can't build up the matches with the other people on the other show. So I hope they learn from their mistakes and just ignore it and just give us another regular A to B quality show.
Yeah, and they have 2 weeks to build that after Crown Jewel.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a really last minute thrown together event. Like Survivor Series is way down the priority list
Right.
of all these big shows.
I could see a bunch of rematches from this show from Crown Jewel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
then finally, Ari from Montreal. Reading the previous comments, I have similar views on this event. I give it a solid 17.5 out of 20. Question: with Michael Cole pretty much introducing the 4 horsewomen of MMA, do you see them battle the WWE 4 horsewomen? Maybe Mania, or is that too soon? I think it's too soon.
That feels too soon, especially when you have the WWE version. Like you have them, like Charlotte and Becky should not be teaming anytime soon.
They were. I remember when like there were rumors about that happening on this show.
Right.
Like the 4 horse, but like I think Marina and Jessamine are still probably a good year off. I think you give another year for Shayna to develop.
It was a year ago at the Mae Young Classic. They did that tease, remember?
Right.
Where they confronted each other.
Yes, which was awful.
Yeah, it was not. It was
really
not that
poorly
great.
done. But I think we're a good year away from all that.
Like you look at it, like none of these women are. You never know with Ronda what her future is going to be, but presumably all these women are going to be around for the long haul, and you don't have to rush to that either. Yeah. Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir are so new at this; they should not be on the main roster anytime soon. So they're in good positions at the moment. So that is all the feedback. Yeah, not surprisingly, a very positively well received show.
Do you think like a show like this is going to increase interest in independent and like international women's wrestling?
To some, maybe. Yeah. I don't think in large amounts. I feel it's a lot of the WWE. They've done a very effective job of, if you are a fan that is looking for different types of wrestling, they are trying to introduce all these different shows that you can at least get a taste of different wrestlers, different concepts, but it is still the WWE, and
yeah, you don't need Stardom. We're going to make our own Stardom.
We're going to bring Io Shirai and Kairi Sane here for you. We're bringing Toni Storm here. I mean, a lot of the, Stardom women made up that Mae Young Classic, just taken from that company. And I think more and more that's where you're going to see people directing it to. So, I always hear about like the trickle down effect that a show like this may have, and maybe it will. But I think largely it's going to just be, the WWE continuing to push a lot of these women, like all the women that they have under contract now. It's just not having enough room. Like we see it on SmackDown, on Raw, that you have all these women and not necessarily roles for all of them. And I think that's the bigger issue is, you can groom all these women and they can get over at a certain level, but we've seen many of them get to the main roster and you get Asuka. And there's a lot of those cases where they are not, I think, realizing their potential. And a night like tonight put a spotlight on a lot of these women, like who have not got reactions like this ever on the main roster. And they were treated like stars tonight, that a lot can be done with them. So that is our show. Are there any closing thoughts, Wei?
Not a whole lot. We'll be back tomorrow.
We have got a lot coming up this week. Wei and I will be back on Monday with Rewind to Raw. We are going to chat the fallout from Evolution, any other news and notes coming out of the weekend, and then going into Monday's show from Charlotte that they're going to be running, the final Raw before Crown Jewel. I was told on, I believe it was Friday, that it was likely that on Raw they will announce a replacement for John Cena for Crown Jewel. So I imagine that is something we will be discussing on Monday. And then Tuesday, we've got Rewind to SmackDown plus the double shot, which we will be chatting about the Hardys Halloween special.
Hearing some good feedback to that.
Yes, that was airing immediately after the Evolution show. And I'm just looking here that Fabian Eichner won the Evolve Championship at Evolve 114. So they put titles on the Street Profits and Fabian Eichner.
I guess that's your answer for what to do with all this talent they have.
Loan them out to Gabe Sapolsky or send them to Progress. I mean, they are running with so much talent at the Performance Center that you can't even get these people onto TV. Like the Street Profits are barely on TV. Fabian Eichner is never on television.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it makes sense. And get a spotlight on an Evolve, and then maybe you bring Evolve onto your network. I mean, that could be the game plan for this talent sharing. Then all of our regular shows this week, including our Friday show after Crown Jewel, we will be going live roughly around 5 p.m. Eastern, whenever the show ends. And we are going to be doing this show, if you're not familiar, for every minute, Wei and I will be donating $5 for the Committee to Protect Journalists. That will be Friday's show. We're going to be joined by several guests, including Todd Martin from Pro Wrestling Torch, David Bixenspan from Deadspin, Nate Milton will be joining us. Author Lavi Margolin is going to be on the show as well, and maybe some others too. So we're looking forward to that show on Friday. I'm not looking forward to that event, but I think we are providing for a very good cause on Friday.
I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yes.
I want to see what they do in light of all this criticism. And I'm looking forward to having the discussion afterwards, especially for people who aren't too familiar with the issue. I'm familiar to an extent, but there's still a lot that I don't know that I hope, in the hour or however many hours that we do the show, we can enlighten everybody on the topic.
Yes. And if you want any more information, you can go to cpj.org to find out more information about the Committee to Protect Journalists. So that's all for us chatting about Evolution. Thank you to all of you that tuned in for the live stream. If you are hearing this or listening to this, I should say, watching this, we're going to stick around and chat with some of you in the chat room after this. For the rest of you, go check out postwrestling.com, postwrestlingcafe.com, and we'll speak with you Monday night following Raw.
And that's how it's done, everybody. Magic. The magic of radio.
It's beautiful, isn't it? How many people are left?
We got about 30, 31 right now. So hello, all of you. Thank you for sticking around. That's pretty good retention, I have to say. All of you guys sticking around to watch us. If you guys have any questions, we're here for you for like about 5 minutes, I think, before we have to put the show together. Happy to chat.
It's early. It's only midnight.
I know. What are we saying? I could still catch the bus. I drove, actually.
Oh, where'd you park?
I parked in that lot.
Oh, smart.
I'm actually not supposed to park there. I think it's a private lot, but I have no.
Yeah,
I have no other
if
choice.
you were on the street, you could get tagged after midnight.
So I put like your address there.
My address.
I put your address and my phone number, like as if like. Anyway, we're giving up way too much.
Oh dear,
way too much information right now.
All right. Well, if anyone has some questions, we got a few minutes here before we wrap up. We're happy to take some questions.
Okay.
How did you think this worked?
Really
well. Sounded good.
It sounded well. How did it sound to you guys? Please give me some feedback. And then okay, there's some questions there. Can you see the chat?
Oh, I don't have anything up.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right. Any chance we can get a review of Netflix's Fight World?
I don't even know what that is.
Is that the show where like guy travels to a bunch of different places to like look at different styles of fights? The answer is no.
Yeah,
we're probably not going to.
Yeah, I think Human Weapon came out 10 years ago. It's a similar concept.
Okay. Do you think they had a secondary camera crew as well? Camera missed a lot. We talked about that a bit. I mean,
I didn't find anything glaring.
No, it wasn't that bad. Outside of that little flub at the beginning with the audio,
that was literally
it was that bad. Okay. There
was also nothing backstage. There was, it was a straight wrestling show. Video package match, which I'm not complaining about.
Me neither.
And I liked the length of this show. We were done by what, 10:15?
I loved it. That was like one of the best parts. I mean, well,
that's still a 3 hour and 15-minute show.
I guess I can't even say that, like I'm refreshed, but it was a combination of it being a good show and there not being like bad filler, like I feel some other times. Jeremy asks, are you planning any live shows or meetups for Mania next year?
Yes, we are. We're in the midst of locking down, but we are most likely going to be doing our same. We're going to do a live show. Hopefully the day of WrestleMania, I think, is the day we're going to target.
Sunday morning, I would say.
Yeah.
Is what we usually target for that.
Yeah. But we'll definitely be doing a show WrestleMania week. We are, everything is booked. We are going 100%.
The Postmaster wants to know any news from the Jericho cruise. Have you heard anything?
I've heard nothing, but I talked to someone who's on it. And he told me that there's no internet connection on it.
Really?
I can't.
Oh, okay.
I've seen people post photos though, so I mean, there's got to be some connection.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure
I think it's limited though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're out on international water. I would think on a big cruise, though, you should have Wi-Fi, right?
I feel like there's international Wi-Fi.
I just talked to one of my friends. He was like, I don't have internet connection the next
Oh.
couple of days because I'm on this cruise. So I don't know what the situation is, but I've also heard like nothing coming out of this cruise, considering all the people that are on it.
Yeah.
But next week, they're going to be putting up some of the matches on Honor Club and Fight TV.
Okay.
So
I'm
I
curious
think
to-
you and I will watch some of the matches,
I'm
especially the six man with the Bucks and Jericho.
I'm curious to see how it looks on a boat.
I saw
Maybe the
pictures. It
camera will
looks
be like-
really
The
cool.
camera will just be like,
Yeah.
no. Okay, Rustin wants to know, will Friday's show be live too? Maybe rewind to Raw and SmackDown. A lot easier to listen to right after. Friday's show will definitely be, Crown Jewel will be. We're at least aiming for all of our pay-per-view shows to be in the setting right afterwards. I think maybe in the future we could start doing Raw and SmackDown live. The problem is like sometimes John and I have to like take some time to catch up, so we can't necessarily say, all right, 11:30 or 11:45 to start, right? Because we're not always catching up in time, and that's a lot to commit to. You know,
Yeah.
you're asking us for every single Monday and Tuesday of our lives to be ready at a certain time. Let us live.
It's a lot of pressure.
Let us live a little bit longer before we choose that commitment. But at least all the pay-per-views, we're going to do this.
Yes.
John, you may want to catch the opening segment for last week tonight. John Oliver had a 5-minute roast of the WWE Crown Jewel event.
Oh,
I
wow.
look forward to that.
Oh, man.
Okay, Slim Sieber says, do you know how involved Vince was tonight? The announcer seemed a lot less produced than normal. No idea. Vince. I'll tell you, the booking of the matches felt kind of different, you know? But that's probably not up to him anyway.
Like this was a main roster show. So it's like I would imagine it was all
that NXT match though, like, or the Mae Young Classic match felt like of a totally different style than what you would typically see on a main roster show.
Yeah. It's an interesting show when you look at like the makeup of it, and yeah.
Have you heard Lanny Poffo on New Japan yet?
Yes, I have. In fairness, I've only heard him do one match, and I thought it was really bad. Yeah, I'll talk about it more this week. I would like to watch a bit more. I don't want to judge him on one match, but the one match I saw, it was not good.
Okay, our last question here from Jake, because it is getting late. What are you looking forward to from Power Struggle?
Power Struggle.
Let me look up this card.
Ishii and Suzuki is going to be an excellent match. It's unfortunate Ospreay's off the card.
So what's
Way's favorite wrestler Taichi was going to defend its title and presumably lose it to Ospreay. Jericho and Evil is going to be.
Let me run down the card so far. Tomohiro Ishii versus Minoru Suzuki for the British Heavyweight Championship. Chris Jericho versus Evil for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Tetsuya Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. Taguchi Japan, which is Tanahashi and Finlay versus the Golden Lovers.
That's that's a big match for David Finlay. That's a big spot for him.
Definitely.
I mean, he's probably taking the fall, but that's a really good chance for him to hang with those guys and get some spotlight.
Okada and Beretta versus Bullet Club OGs, which is Jay White and Bad Luck Fale, and then of course the Junior Tag League Finals. Yeah, certainly. I'm looking forward to Naito Sabre actually.
Next weekend is going to be a really crazy week.
It'll be pretty
with
nice.
Crown Jewel. We're going to be doing a lengthy show that night, and then Power Struggles the next day, and UFC from Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, we don't need to sleep. I'll just live here.
Sure,
on this table.
We could fit a bed somewhere down here. I'm also going to be doing a quick show this week with Phil. We're going to do a quick little preview of UFC 230
in person,
on Skype.
Oh, okay,
yes.
Cool. I was going to say you could do it here.
I could, yeah. Unfortunately, it lives very, very far. So
really,
that's a tough one.
Okay. Alrighty, thank you guys for joining us again. All 31 of you sticking around. Go do something else with your life. Go to sleep.
Yes, we'll be back on Monday. Thanks to all of you that tuned in. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, listened, saw, and thanks.
Thank you for your support. Bye-bye.